today's project, replacing the fuel pump in this 03 Trailblazer. So I have the luxury here of replacing the pump when there's nothing wrong with the old pump. So what I did was I was able to run the tank down to as close to empty as I can get it. I mean, that gauge, that's as good as I can get. I guess I could have, driven around the neighborhood, 50 or 60 times, but, I wanted to make this as light as possible. And this way I don't have to siphon anything out of the tank. So we're gonna fire it up. We're gonna pull that fuel pump relay like we've done like 3 times now. That'll relieve the fuel system pressure. Pull off the gas cap, relieves the pressure in the tank. Now just about everybody and their brother-in-law who happens to be a mechanic is going to tell you to disconnect the battery, but we're not going to do that. With the relay out, we've cut power to the pump. I don't see the need to disconnect the battery, so we're not going to do that. If you're at home, watch the battery disconnect video, the side effects video, and you make the call if you want to disconnect the battery in yours. It's not up to me, it's your truck, you know what I mean? Alright, this big bar's got to come off. It goes all the way across to the other side of the frame. So before we loosen them off, we're going to take some blaster. We're just going to shoot it down this hole right here, just to kind of like lubricate everything. Because this thing hasn't come off, in 9 years. All right, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. On this one, they're 15mm bolts. Do the same thing on the other side now. We're going to try to get these lines off of the evap canister. So we got one down here. You might not be able to see it right now, but there's another one up there, and those two have to come off. We've got these stupid, I hate these effing things. So the deal here is you want to push these tabs out, and at the same time come underneath this bottom piece and just try to kind of work it out, kind of like that. Oh, there we go. So they're a little bit tricky and they're brittle too. I should be able just to slide this guy off of here. Make sure. So look, this is what I did. Can you see my finger? I pushed in right here with my finger on this side, just like that. Then I used my other finger here to kind of hold the bottom piece of the clip down. Came back with my curved pick. Came back with my curved pick up here. Pushed this side of the tab down. And then I was able just to get it loose. At this point, it's safe to say no cigarettes or Bunsen burners or hot plates or anything that could ignite, because we've already got fuel vapors in here. Now, a little bit above that, we've got the same damn thing. We've got another one. Alright, this might be tough to see, and I apologize, but there's really like no room under here. So, this is the guy right here that we just took off. And then way up there, we've got the other one. Now, getting that clip off's the same, it's just a little bit harder to get to. So I'm gonna go ahead and bang that off the same way. Go from there. Alright, so next we have this line that goes on top of the tank. And I'm going to disconnect it here at the filter. Now I don't know how this will work if you have one of those filters that are mounted, close up against the tank. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this line off. I got my little drain pan right there. if you've watched the fuel filter video, you'll see more of how to get these little stupid clips off.
Not on me, not on me, not on me, not on me, not on me.
Alright, well, there was one more fuel line disconnect up there. It was on top of the tank. And I couldn't fit my hand and the camera up in there. So when the tank is down, I'll show you which one that is. Here's some of the juicy bits you couldn't see. This is that line right here. I didn't show it. This is where it is, just where it is. I couldn't really show it being removed. We're at the back of the tank now. We're toward the center of the truck. Up here, you have this connector. You just want to slide that thing back. Wiggle the connector loose. Now, if I remember right, the hose and this are going to stay with the tank when it comes down. I haven't done one of these in a while, so I don't really remember. There's the filler pipe. Over here you have the connector for fuel tank pressure sensor. It's the same deal. You just want to lift up on that tab, just work her out. Yeah, they don't have locks on them like some of the other connectors in the truck. I'm just going to try to loosen this hose clamp right here and just try to get that separated from the tank. If I can't, then I'm going to loosen up this one and just try to get this whole assembly out. So we'll see how that goes. So I've got a 7mm socket on my little 1/4" ratchet. I ended up disconnecting the fill hose here at the pipe. This thing is so hard that I'm just going to try to leave this hose on here. So, looks like we've got everything undone. Got those 2 evap canister lines and the 2 fuel lines up there. Took the brace off. We undid the vent solenoid and fuel tank pressure sensor and the fill tube. So we're going to get the fuel tank up on the jack and piece of wood and loosen up the bolts and drop this thing down. I guess you really shouldn't say drop. We're going to lower the fuel tank assembly down and remove it from the vehicle. So we're going to take off these 15mm bolts that hold the straps. So I'm going to try to lower this jack a little bit. She's gonna fall, Captain. This is where you actually come in and disconnect the connector from. At this point, you want to reach your hand up in between the body of the truck and the tank. What you have to do is unclip the connector from the fuel pump. The wire harness for the fuel pump stays connected to the body of the truck. So you need to drop the tank down a little bit to get enough room to get your hand up in there to disconnect, the connector. This thing. What am I hanging up on? It's hanging up on a stupid fucking vent valve. Vent valve's an asshole. Alright. I ended up putting my jack up here, just jacking it up just enough. I can slide this turd out. This is the vent valve. That was where the connector was that we had to take off. This was the FTP sensor. This is the other connector I took off. Obviously the fill pipe. And here's Mr. Pump in here. I'm going to go underneath the tent because it's been raining on and off today. They're really like particular or whatever. Just wipe that shit away. And it looks like we have some more fun clips here. So this should be pretty interesting. just like that. Cool. This little thing is what keeps the ring in place. So I'm just gonna put a little pick in there and kind of hold him out of the way while we bang this thing off. Now, there's like special tools to do this, but I don't think we need special tools. We're just going to use a hammer. We got some punches here. So what I want to do is keep this lock ring off of here and work my way around. Busting the ring off. The ring's going to come off. We're going to be able to get the pump up out of here. Some people have gone and said, you know what, I'm going to clean out the tank. We're not doing it. If you want to, go ahead, it's your truck, but we're not going to do that. We got our Bosch pump here. It's already got the sender unit on it, which was pretty cool and hip. Now there's a difference in these gaskets. This is the one that came off of it, and this is one with the new one. We're just going to put the new one on it. I'm not a scientist. I don't know why they changed the gaskets, but that's what we're going to do. So we're going to feed the sending unit in first. Just let this guy drop into place. So that's how it's all going to be oriented. Yeah, I see a problem already. The gasket wants to like walk around in here. Got the pump module back in and it's sucked. We opted not to use the green ring because no matter how you oriented it in there, it did not seal flat. We reuse the original gasket, and if it leaks, well, we'll just deal with it. But I know that this would have leaked, no matter how many times we did it. We did it probably what?
20 different times.
20 different times, and it's not happening. So why they changed the gasket, I don't know. Alright, we're back. Well, Miss Barbara had to roll. She did good work. So the last thing we did was we got the tank back up into place. Remember that before you put the tank back up, to reconnect the connector for the fuel pump. So get it situated on your jack her up a little bit, and plug the pump module back in. And I hate to say it, but really everything's just the reverse of, you know, taking it all apart to get it out. So I'm going to start back here. We hook back up the FTP sensor, the vent solenoid, get the fill pipe back hooked up, move up to the front. I'm going to snap those two canister lines back in and the two fuel lines. Then we're going to put the fuel pump relay back in and fire it up. Well, first thing I noticed was the gas gauge wasn't reading what it was before I took the tank out, so I'm not sure what's cooking there. I'm going to put about 9 gallons in and see where it sits. So, 9.0 gallons. So it looks like we're good there. Okay, so I just got done going through the fuel pump replacement video, and there's a couple things I want to add to it. The first one is, why did I do it? Well, that fuel pump had 155,000 miles on it. Typically with GM trucks and SUVs, I recommend replacing them at 120,000 miles. I mean, that's when you start to run into problems. And that's usually when I end up having to replace them. I got more than my money's worth out of this pump, so now is a better time than ever just to replace the pump. How much does this cost? Typically at like Advanced and Rock Auto for the Bosch, you're going to pay around $330. What does this cost at the dealer? Well, I've seen quotes over $1,000 for the same procedure. Yeah, $1,000. A lot of times what they'll do is, they'll mark up the pump to about 460 bucks. Say, oh, you have to get the pump module replaced. 460 right there. And then what? I think 4 hours of labor for replacing the pump. Now on a lift with tools and all that shit, it's not going to take you 4 hours. In fact, I'm pretty sure if that was at my work, I could have done it in under 2. And that leads me to my next point I want to talk about. Now I could have just as easily taken this truck up to my work today, put it up on the lift, got the transmission jack out, probably had that thing in and out in under 2 hours. I should say out and in under 2 hours. But whatever. What I do here is I show you guys, what you're going to see if you're underneath yours. Some things were hard to do. It was hard to get the camera in some angles. There were some things I couldn't show just because of the lack of space under there. But I'd rather do that than conveniently put the truck on the lift, and I conveniently have all these tools because a lot of you guys out there don't have that stuff, You just have that desire to, work on your own shit. You have the desire to want to save money. I will say that this job really sucked. This was probably the worst thing that I've had to do for my YouTube channel. This is the first GM truck or SUV that I've actually taken the tank out, without a lift. I've been spoiled. I guess, I've done 1.4 thousand fuel pumps in my career, and every time it was on a lift. The exception being our pickup, because I took the bed off the pickup to do the pump in that. Now, if you are going to do this yourself, if you go to Rock Auto, you're going to see a bunch of different choices for fuel pumps. Everything from the $137 Airtex pump up to the $400, AC Delco pump. Just don't be cheap here. The Airtex and the Wellis and all those other dipshit China companies, they all suck. And if you do some research on people that have used them, you'll see that the quality just isn't there. I don't want to take that tank back out for another 100,000 miles, hopefully. So I went with the Bosch. Not the cheapest, but what can you do? It's something pretty important. You don't want to, drive 500 miles away only to have your Airtex fuel pump crap out and, you've got yourself a mighty fine tow bill there. A reason that you might want to replace the fuel pump as maintenance, especially, over 120,000 miles is it can save you a tow bill and it can save you a diagnostic charge. If the fuel pump craps out, well, somebody's got to take the car from wherever it broke down to the shop. The shop, a good shop, they're going to test the fuel pump power and ground circuits, which, it's just going to cost you diagnostic time. And, I can see it from their end where they want to test stuff before they replace the pump. It's kind of like what I do here on my channel. I highly suggest having someone here helping you when you do that. That tank is really awkward, and even having like fumes of gas in it, that sucked getting it back up there. And that's kind of the reason why I couldn't show getting it back up there and wrestling around the straps and everything. Because we needed 2 people to do it. Really, there's no real tricks to getting it back up in there. Everything is pretty much just throw it up in there. I don't really have any tips or anything for that. Now, I don't know what the differences are going to be between my 03 and later model Trailblazers. I already know that there's differences in the fuel filter location, so the pump feed line from the filter might be in a different location. As far as the differences between, say, an 03 and 07, there may be, some changes. A quick note about that ring. If I get any information about what that ring is really about, I'm going to make a video response to this video showing that. Knowing what I know now about this, I think what I would do in the future is I'd order the pump and I'd also order that ring separately. And that way I don't have to use that green ring. If something happened and, my OEM ring kind of got broke during the removal process, I pretty much would have been fucked because we spent a good hour trying to get that green ring to seat into the tank, correctly. And it just wasn't happening. No matter how much we tried, it wasn't happening. And I don't think that's the right ring for that specific Trailblazer. The number on the pump was the same number as the pump that came out. The only difference was the ring. So I reused the old ring. Everything's good. I have seen, I think as part of if you were just going to buy like the fuel sending unit, I think the ring that was in the picture for the AC Delco one was the black thick ring that kind of seated into the tank too. So that's the ring I would get, if I was going to do this again. Hindsight, foresight, whatever sight. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing to my shit. Big thanks to subscriber number 667 because On Friday the 13th yesterday, it was subscriber 666, and I was like, oh fuck. You know what I mean? So if you like what you see, subscribe to my shit. We got a lot more Trailblazer stuff coming up. Maybe not within the next couple weeks because we got a big truck show coming up. Carlisle, Pennsylvania. You can see me there. I'll be with gmtnation.com. That brings up another point. I had to close my inbox for YouTube because I kept getting spammed by these assholes with these retarded ass videos that I really don't have any interest in watching. So I had to close my inbox. The best way to get a hold of me is over at gmtnation.com. I've got the same screen name there as I do here on YouTube. You can find me there, send me a private message. I really encourage you just to use the forum for posting your questions because there's guys over there, they know a lot more shit than I do, and they're more than happy to help you, just like I am.